Hi, and welcome to Annegirls. Today it is just Steph and I again, and we are going over chapter 16 through
15?
20.
16. Oh, I have no notes about chapter 16 because it was a sneeze. I don't remember what chapter 16 was.
You want to know what my notes are?
Yes.
Peter
Yes.
of the pity party, Peter the perpetual victim, Peter the spineless bitch.
Now I remember.
A spell had fallen over me, and that is exactly why I fucked my daughter. Not because I'm a depraved man who can't just go jerk off in the shower if I get too horny. And then he says the line, like a miserable crab. I can't. Like,
Multiple crab wounds is all I have to say about that.
multiple crab wounds. Yeah.
Bit, I forgot that we still had some leftover Peter. I forgot about that because once it was done, I said, scrub,
Yeah.
gone, gone.
Although the Talamasca is still looking to vindicate Peter, like towards the end of
Okay.
this segment, which also made me mad. I yelled at that.
You can't. There is none. That bitch was he he his daughter. And like, yes, okay, yes. I have a whole
He
TikTok in my drafts
he
about
he fucked not only his daughter, but uh, it's just
the
like
mom, the mom
he
was a kid though
yes.
at the time. A child, and he knows that. He knows that. And then I think it's really gross. There's something wrong. There's something wrong with Peter, okay? And I think the Talamasca collects these special people indiscriminately, even though there's something wrong with them, okay?
Yeah.
Because he definitely talks about how he wanted to fuck his teacher. He wanted his teacher to fuck him, even though he was a child.
Yes. And again, this is how Anne Rice writes children, which I don't appreciate about Anne
Through the
Rice.
no, through this whole chunk, chapter 16 through 20, every fucking child that she talks about is I said it in a text message is either dumpy and plain or sexy.
Yeah.
That's predatory.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that she's a predator, but that's predatory. Like there were no like this is just my child that I had with somebody who I wasn't fucking related to.
Well, there's none of that anyway, because all of the Mayfairs be having children with their cousins and brothers and
Uncle cousin brothers.
sisters, and yeah.
I'm like shaking right now because I
Like
didn't how much
Julian
rage.
had Julian fathered like
Julian
half of that family. Like, boy couldn't keep his
Julian
dick in his pants.
Okay, so I have all right. So literally my first no because there's just so much to unpack here. But while I'm reading these things, okay, like in between my horror at everything that's being said, I have just this great like wondering about the entire issue as a whole because Lasher, I still don't know what the fuck Lasher is. Okay, I don't know what he has to do with any of this. And so and the more that I get into the story, the more uncomfortable I am that I don't know what Lasher's deal is because they're
Mm-hmm.
also not talking about him much. Okay, and it's scaring me because I don't know what he is. And so, like, from the beginning, it seemed like they get, like that's the connection, right? Lasher and these witchy powers. But
Mm-hmm.
then it almost seems like they have to make all of these it's a big secret how they're upping their power. It almost makes it seem like they're having to make all these like fleshly and pleasureful sacrifices, right? To keep the family going.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it seems like. It may not be that.
Mm. I don't think so. I don't know. I
You don't know, or you're not going to say because you know.
Well,
what it is.
the thing is like I actually don't remember a whole lot. I know what Lasher
Okay.
is, but I don't remember a whole lot of like a lot of these family dynamics and stuff are being reintroduced to me. Like I did not remember how lousy the family is with incest. I
Guilt
do
everywhere.
think that is interesting just based on what Lasher is and how he eventually comes through because they have to pretty much create a person that is the perfect vessel, like genetically, to be able to bring Lasher through. And so the fact that there's so much incest kind of.
But do they know that? Like
Oh, I don't
the
think they
people.
know that at all. I don't think that the family is aware of that, but I do think that that might be the reason why. I do think they're just depraved and they are aristocratic cousin fuckers because that's just what rich people are. Like they want to keep the money and the power in the family, so they fuck cousins because they're disgusting and money corrupts absolutely. Um it's not that much of a stretch for me. I think the worst of rich people, so I just assume as soon as they
Okay.
have some money that they're trash bags that are fucking their cousins.
Okay, so it could just be my brain trying to like rationalize the fuck out of all of this crazy shit
Mm.
by saying this.
I also think some of this is just like I don't know, some weird fucking shit that Anne Rice has going on. I'm sorry, but like
You don't have to apologize. She wrote it. She put it
there's
out in the universe.
there's so much of it, and I will say like I write smut. I am trying to fashion myself as Anne Rice if there was no incest and no child shit in it because I like that part of it. I like the fucking weird smutty
This
people
isn't even.
fucking like other dimensional beings things. I think it's
It's not even
hilarious.
smut though. Like honestly, only the Rowan Michael stuff so far has been smutty. This is just like, yeah, they had babies. Like
Yeah, that's true. They had babies.
it's
Lots of
literally
babies.
just
But when we're in these
confirmation.
chapters, we're literally reading the Talamasca's files on the family, which is like hearsay that they've gathered from various sources. Except for Peter, which we do get the smuttiness with Peter, unfortunately.
Respectfully, he died the way he deserved.
Peter got what he fucking deserved. Here's another thing from that chapter. I screamed like a frightened woman, he says. No, you clearly screamed like a frightened bitch hoe named Peter. Thank you.
That literally, I'm like, don't try to bring women into this.
I
Don't.
I
You
also love that Lasher put his ass in the crypt and he describes himself as smelling like death. And I'm like, good, nobody's gonna get confused and fuck you now. You smell
I'm
like a corpse.
I'm tired, and that's only chapter 16. Like I'm fucking tired.
Yeah.
Okay, these women are wild. Okay,
Mm-hmm. And then when Peter dies, the Talamasca blames it on runaway slaves instead of Lasher or whatever. Like, well, obviously they're not gonna say that a fuck ghost did it, but you know,
but like they can get creative. Like they they can get creative. That was fucking
mm-hmm.
lazy. And I'm tired of people. I'm tired of the black people slander in this fucking book.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really fucking tired of it. I can love Anne Rice all I want to, but this shit is excessive. The incest and the black people slander.
Yes, and the fucking white saviorism from the whole fucking
My
Mayfair
God,
line. I hate it.
don't even get me started.
It made me so mad. And like how many times they act like oh, like they're like, oh, they're just kind of like my family. And in the meantime, there are actual Mayfairs fucking slaves and making babies, and it's like glossed over as like this is okay. It's not okay. It's fucked up.
No, there's some stuff, and yep, there's some stuff in. Oh, I didn't write any notes for chapter 18 either, but there's some stuff in chapter 17 that I really want to talk about
Yeah.
because like that.
Well, we can put a pin in 16 and move to 17 because of course Charlotte and Peter's twins are into incest was the first note in that one because
I want the incest timeline because they
yeah.
throw a lot of names all the time. There's just so many because I get they're trying to bridge the gap between the first one and the last one That's a lot of fucking years and a lot of incest. Every other motherfucking page
Yep.
is incest.
Mm-hmm.
Every other page. And I think that's creepy because it's incest, but also like it didn't have to be so much, especially twins, and like some of the babies come out all right, and then they talk about I almost said
Bell.
little Belle. Like, I'm confused. Is incest good or is it bad? So I'm confused.
I think that the thing she's going for, which I don't like the statement, but that it's morally gray, because there are different outcomes to it, and
It
it
would be
was a
morally
common
gray.
practice.
It would be morally gray if it was like not every other page. If it was
Right.
distant cousins, when it's
Yeah, when it's twins, when it's a father fucking his own kid, when it's an uncle fucking his niece that's young, that's like
and
16,
then
that he's
it's a daughter
taking,
niece.
yes, his daughter niece on top of it,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they call her that, the daughter niece. The daughter niece.
The daughter
When you put it
niece.
down on the paper as the daughter niece, you know that shit's not morally gray. Hello?
The things though that Anne Rice puts in this book and then tries to like kind of like, we'll see when Michael starts doing his fuckery and she tries to walk it back and act like it's morally gray or like that he was seduced. It's like,
Oh, I forgot about that.
yeah.
Setting no.
Yeah, I love Anne Rice, but this book is full of fuckery. Like,
And it's massive. Like
mhm.
like it's like she dumped. Like it's like she dumped every like what is the word that I'm looking for? All her intrusive thoughts into this book.
Yeah,
And we're not done yet. It's only like half done. We're only
yeah,
half done.
yeah. I think we just crossed half too. Like,
Yes. Like this morning. We
yeah.
just
Yeah, because we both like had a month off and we just didn't touch it. We were like, fuck this.
don't wait till the last minute and then hours before we record, we're both reading the same fucking page.
Yes.
It's hard. It's hard. It's not easy to read
It's an
this.
emotionally taxing read. It really is.
It is. It's I can applaud her for putting me through that shit because not a lot of things can. I watch a lot of horror movies, like some depraved shit, and this stresses me out, makes my mouth dry,
Yeah.
and gives me heart palpitations.
I think there's a part in chapter 17 where like she even acknowledges how much incest there is in this family. She's
Uh-huh.
just kind of like, Jesus, this is a lot of fucking incest.
Yeah. Okay, so aside from the incest, because we're gonna have to talk about Baby Belle in this chapter, but before that, um they talk about Marguerite and Catherine, and I'm not even going to talk about like where they are in the family timeline because I don't even know. I don't know whose mom daughter. Marguerite is Catherine's
Margaret's mom, yeah.
right. Okay, so here's the thing. I find it upsetting. I mean, it's here and in another chapter where they expand upon like Marguerite's voodoo knowledge, and then Mary Beth also they talk about her and voodoo and her it it
Mm-hmm.
makes me mad because they're white, and you know how white they are. She goes through dissecting all the different kinds of white that their family tree is, every flavor of Caucasian there possibly is. She highlights where that came from.
Saltine cracker, rich cracker.
That part, butter cracker. That's she does. So you bitches are white, okay? Voodoo is a closed practice. There's no way that
Mm-mm.
these white ladies are gonna come in, okay, off of their high horse, especially when Mary Beth says things like, "Oh, voodoo is just controlling the spirits. Everything else is a show."
Mm-hmm.
That's demeaning as fuck. They're not gonna let you into their practice and teach you, and it's very
It's not
gray.
just that. You have to have ancestors that are involved in voodoo is ancestor work. You can't White people literally don't have ancestors that are involved with the voodoo pantheon. We can't practice voodoo. It's closed to us.
Literally. And that's why I think it's very gray how they get their powers. And she throws this in there, and I think it's super gross. And I think it's because Anne Rice has always been wildly interested
Yeah.
in that, but she doesn't have access to it
Yeah.
because she's white.
You can't have access as a white person, like, and
No,
people that
and then it
say
gets
it
worse.
are yikes.
No.
Huh?
And there's stories like all over the internet. Like there's all of these myths about white people doing shit like that, like they're not supposed to, and then they wind up
Disappear.
having these horrible mysterious deaths, or they disappear. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
some stuff that you just shouldn't fuck with. I don't understand why it's not enough to have a mysterious man ghost who gets you money and
Right?
kills
I
you. Why is
honestly think the voodoo thing is just like a zig when they're gonna zag kind of thing. Like, oh, here's something, but it's really gross, especially considering again the white saviorism, which of course Jean Louise is a white savior for the slaves. Icky. That was my second note on this. Who is Jean Louise is Marguerite's mom, I believe. It's her and then Marguerite and then Catherine and then Mary Beth and Julian is Mary Beth's brother, and then Mary Beth and Julian spawn
Mary Beth
Stella.
is Julian's daughter niece?
Yep. Daughter niece. And Stella is obviously like Cortland or like one of Julian or one of his sons.
Julian's sons' names are so fucking stupid.
Cortland, Garland, and Barkley.
Oh my god. Every time, and they say them all together like that.
Yeah.
All three in a row, every time they say it like they're fucking triplets. Ew! Sorry. The other thing, before we talk about the daughter niece, is Catherine. There's this really, it's so long, and there's a lot of shit she should have just fucking cut out, and this is one of them. Talking about Catherine pretending to be mixed and going into these mixed parties. That's disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Why would you even do that? I don't even understand why you would do that.
I don't know, because there is this, sorry for the tangent, but Black people in America is a really long, twisted fucking history of how we got here. Okay. And it's one that they're actively trying to whitewash. Fucking DeSantis is literally cutting that shit out of the education as we breathe. At this moment, I live in Florida. It's very fucking relevant.
Yeah.
Okay. And to make this entire history and to just insert yourself where it's convenient and where it's fun for these characters, you can lick my balls.
100%. No, disrespectfully, absolutely.
I'm not shitting on Anne Rice because, like I said, I think it's impressive for this book to evoke this kind of emotion, but I hate that, and I think it's nasty, and I think stuff like that is people reading this, like especially like white people who may not have had the education in Black history as they should, will never know.
Yeah, they won't know how disgusting it is. Like, honestly, I don't remember it from the first time I read it, so it probably didn't make that huge of a impact on me. But the first time I read it, it was like I was coming out of like a K-12 education in Eastern Washington taught by Nazis. So, which we just talked about in the last podcast, how it's actually Nazis over here.
It's okay though, because we're your teachers now, and we'll give you the right education. As in, this is nasty. It's really icky. Okay. And then she's like, oh, but they make up for it because they throw coins to the Black children on the side of the fucking street.
Yeah.
That disappear back into this bitch's purse, by the way.
That's the thing. Such a generous person, but how is it generosity if it just comes right back? Like, it's like it's a zero-sum game, dude.
It's straight fucking thievery and greed. And for you to go on and on about how much motherfucking money they have, but they don't pay people? What? Ew.
Yeah.
Pay people. That's what money is for, not just for getting drunk all day and throwing all of these parties and getting mad at your family who doesn't show up to a fucking
Mm-hmm.
party. I don't know. Miss me.
Lasher's a bi legend in this because he does fuck Julian. So
Yes, he does. Okay, I do, that's like about the only thing that I like about Julian is
mm-hmm.
that I mean, like, yeah, that. And he was a little guy segue in
Mm-hmm.
the women's story. You know what I mean? So, like, Lasher doesn't discriminate.
Nope. Lasher just goes for whatever, gets him hard. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, but Julian is literally part of the reason why I have this whole theory about like, when Lestat says, "Let the flesh instruct the mind,"
Mm-hmm.
like flesh sacrifices to Lasher and the
Yeah.
magic and the power, like that it comes from people being slutty and
Um,
that shit
it
and
could.
gross.
I mean, it could be some sex magic stuff. Honestly, like the first time I read this, and still I can't get it out of my head. To me, Julian is Aleister Crowley. Like the way that he acts, his demeanor, like he's like a fancy boy. He's into the occult. He's the magical fuck boy. I thought I would hate him more, but honestly, like I hate other characters so much more than Julian that I can't even like I hate that he incested so much, but I mean,
He
so did
incested
everyone
hard.
else. Everyone's
But
incesting.
it was like he was trying to go for the incest record. He's like, go big or go home, my boy. You know what I mean? It
True.
definitely feels that way because like he literally takes Mary Beth, who's 15, off on a trip to Europe and they make up this whole story about some Scottish lord just because he gets her pregnant and then they're like, oh, just kidding, divorce. And then they come back, like, whoop, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's psychotic.
The interesting thing about that, and I don't remember very well, but I do know that there is a Scottish castle, that is where Lasher came from. And I wonder if they were trying to do some kind of ritual to bring Lasher through, and that resulted in Belle, that was feeble and couldn't take the legacy on because she didn't have the brain, but like something went wrong, but they tried is what I'm thinking, especially because Julian's so interested in the occult, and he's also like one of the only male Mayfairs that gets Lasher's favors.
I had so many thoughts while you were talking.
Sorry.
No, my brain just ate them all. That actually makes so much sense. Maybe that's what he was writing about in that book that
Mm.
no one ever saw. That Richard
Yeah.
Llewellyn.
Hell, I want to read
Poor
that book.
Richard.
As much as I don't want to read any more files, like I would read Julian's book. I'm sorry, but like if
I would
she
read
had
it too,
written
but I
that,
feel
I
like
would fucking read the shit out of that. I'm sorry.
I guarantee you Julian's book is an excruciating detail down to nipple color,
I want to know Lasher's nipple color though.
black. Lasher has black nipples.
His nipples are rotten.
The
Rotten
rotten,
nipples.
no, rotten
Rotten
nipple
nipples.
Lasher.
That's my band, Rotten Nipple.
Lasher just swaying in the background of all your music videos. Black
There we
nipple.
go.
Yes, get it, Lasher. But we don't have much of Lasher
We don't
at
yet.
this
Yeah.
point. So like I'm waiting because like immediate okay when we started this, all right, and like the Lasher and Deirdre thing, I was like, fuck Lasher, I'm scared of him. And now I'm like, I'm scared of these hoes. I don't know. It seems like Lasher might be a little scared too. I'm scared of these hoes. They're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Where's my book? All right. I wrote down a page. Surprise, page 440. Okay.
Uh
Yeah.
yeah, the Storyville thing.
Yeah. 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 This has to be talked about because this is so gross. Okay. You take incest and then you dip it in like, I don't know, alcohol. This is like a prostitute situation. However, the prostitutes' children, very small children. They set up the situation for Julian, and then they're on the bed while the situation goes down. I literally got indigestion from this. And like, that's fine. And he's like, no, it's fine, because if they weren't there, like, they would be in a worse situation.
I wish I could be a helpless rich motherfucker that like had the power to like actually change these things and was just like, nope, I can't change it. Really?
It's because, I mean, you could literally, they'd be handing out money left and right. They could just give this woman enough money to change her life and her children. They could change everybody's lives because they have this infinite wealth.
Yes.
And instead, this is the way the world is, and I'm just gonna enjoy it. Lucky fucking you.
Yep.
I call them trick babies.
Yeah. And then he's like, no, it's okay because I read them poetry and like get them ready for like a better life or get them hungry for a better life. It's like, no, Julian, you're a piece of shit. Fuck yourself.
Poetry doesn't put, reading poetry does not put food in babies' bellies.
Mm-mm.
It does not allow them to unsee the things that they have seen. Those are the things that are going to shape their lives forever. Trick babies.
The Storyville part made me hate the fuck out of Julian. I was mildly annoyed with all his incest horseshittery up until that point. Now I want to summon him in a dream and give him a black eye and punch him in the cock. That was my note.
He deserves to have his pee-pee taken away.
Mm-hmm.
Forever.
The other thing about it is like that Storyville scene, I think, again, I really do think that the writers of Interview with the Vampire, the series, read this book, which I wish the writers of the Mayfair series would have read the fucking book, because I really, the more I've watched it, the less convinced I am that anybody has read anything. But I do think that they took Julian and some of the Mayfairs of that time period and used it to model like Louis' family a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. The next one is talking about Anne's different types of men, which we actually get like in a later chapter where she goes over all the different kinds of Caucasian that we're talking about.
Literally, I said, in Anne's mind, this is just really what it seems like. Okay, like if you don't have like black curly hair or you don't look like Lestat, you're a fucking lamb, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. You're a background man.
Yeah.
And I think that's so bizarre, considering the amount of other details that are in this book.
Yeah. I mean, unless you talk about Peter, the blonde bitch.
But Peter looks like Lestat.
Okay, you're right. You're right. He does probably look like Lestat. I guess I see him, I don't know. In my mind, Peter has like a very round face and like he's got a weak hairline and he's just it's like
You wish he had a weak hairline. He made gorgeous babies.
I don't fucking care. I hate Peter.
Gorgeous
like
incest babies.
I would. Okay, I'll tell you what. If he doesn't have a weak hairline, if he met me, he would, because I would rip his fucking hair out of his head. He would not be a hairline king anymore. Okay.
One by one. Like, yeah, we're gonna lock him in Charlotte's room, right? But instead of going in there to have sex with him, I hold him down and Elle rips each of his hairs out.
Yes.
Like, and we're coming back tomorrow for the next patch, bitch.
I think we threatened to do this once with somebody who fucked with me too. But I think it was eyebrows, not hair.
Yeah, we're coming for all your hairs. Next, it's the pubes.
Ew, bitch. I'm not touching his pubes, bro.
I'll rip them out with tweezers. Keep it.
I'm not looking at his cock. I'm just not doing it.
I'll take one for the team. They're coming out. These men don't deserve pubes.
They don't deserve anything.
They don't deserve all the money that they have. No. no, eat me. Like, no.
I do
No.
appreciate though how like Julian just seems to live forever and he's just like an old man that is there and then all of a sudden everyone's like, "Oh shit, he was like 100 years old. Oops."
Yeah, so two of these bitches lived to be exactly 92
Mm-hmm.
before they died. So like they do live a long time. I don't know. I started to get super bored when they started to talk about all the legal stuff, like all the legal gossip.
Yeah.
The beginning of chapter 19. I was literally like, oh, who cares? Who cares? While I'm like my finger down the page, like, yes, yes. We're all lawyers. I get it. Carlotta's the lady lawyer. The three stooges are the men lawyers. I get it.
Yeah.
Like I don't care about that. I don't care about that because you know why I don't care about that? It's fucking boring. But also, Lasher can get you money. So
Yeah.
like why are why are they wasting their lives doing business? If I had a sexy ghost who could do anything for me, I would be like Stella. I would just do whatever the fuck I want to do. But I would
Yeah.
also help people. Like that
Yeah.
like give myself some purpose. How don't tell me this is a Virgo thing. Like what is their purpose in
Uh,
life? Doing business things when their sexy ghosts can get them money? Why is money a concern for you? And it's a huge fucking deal. It's a big
yeah.
deal.
Well, both Julian and Carlotta are like business mogul type people, which like I guess if that's your personality, but like Julian could have gotten like really into the magical fuckboy thing. He could have started a cult. Like that would have been a better life path for
He
him.
would have been a really good cult leader,
Yeah.
honestly.
He could have fucked adult women. Like that would have been nice, you know? He could have just started a cult full of adult women he wanted to fuck. Like
Yeah, and like made his own babies that weren't already related to him.
exactly. Even his wife was his cousin, a French cousin, you know, because Julian's one of the Irish ones,
Right.
you know,
One
the
flavor of white and she's another flavor.
Kraka and Croquet, I guess, or I don't know.
I can't do this. No, when I agreed to read this book, I had no idea. I had no idea how much incest was going to be in
I
this fucking.
honestly didn't remember. I think my brain blocked it out. I
I
was so enamored with Lasher, like I didn't fucking care.
I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get to the Lasher part because so far I
Right?
don't like anybody in this fucking book. I don't like none of them.
I hate them all.
All of them.
I hate them all. I have to say that like Stella is maybe the one that I admire the most out of all of them because she was just like, fuck this, I'm doing what I want.
She makes the most sense in my mind. Like I was saying, if I had all this endless money and a sexy ghost, I would just do whatever. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? But I would also actively try to make other
People's
people's
lives
lives
better,
better.
yeah. Which I think Mary Beth tries a little bit, but she only
That's
limits it to
crazy.
her family. That's the problem.
Yeah, Mary Beth's crazy as hell. She's the one who cross dresses, right? Like she goes out dressed as a man and sometimes she turns
Yeah,
into a man. Can we talk about that really quick?
I like
Really quick?
that. I gotta say, I like that. And I also like the way that Mary Beth is very like, shut up, Carlotta, let Stella do what she wants to do.
Yes, yes, I do like that. Carlotta is really grumpy to me for whatever reason. And it's not fair for her. But when I
Hmm.
think of Carlotta, I think of the evil grandmother and Flowers in the Attic.
You know
Like,
what's funny?
what?
Carlotta to me in my mind is my grandma because my grandma acts like Carlotta.
Oops.
I don't remember that the evil grandmother, but that's like my grandma is just like very that like matter of fact boss bitch. Like you don't do anything and she's gonna put everything in line. And so like in my head, like when I was first reading this book, I saw Carlotta as my Granny Shirley. Like that's who she visibly looked like in my head.
Fun fact, everybody, I also had a grandma Shirley. This
Oh yeah.
is add this to the list of reasons why we're like soulmates or whatever. Um, okay. Carlotta is like the same thing that I've been saying why I don't understand why these people are, except like opposite. I don't
Mm.
understand why she cares so much about spending money in excess, but not about putting it to help people. She doesn't care about that. She just
Yeah.
cares about the fact that it's being spent. That's what
Yeah.
money's for. It's for spending.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that a lot of rich people do hoard money like dragons, though, and that's why they're rich.
Just throw it up from the rooftops. Just
You
give
know
it
what
away.
we do with dragons? We slay them.
Ew. Not by
Knights.
putting makeup on them.
Nope.
So okay. Mary Beth turning into the man. Okay. My favorite story about that is when she was riding her horse, as she be doing, and this man tried to snatch her up, I'm assuming to rob her, and she turned into that man and she beat the shit out of that guy.
Yes.
Dragged him by a rope to the authorities, like behind her horse.
Yep.
That's a badass. That's
like
a badass.
that's if I had the power to shapeshift, that's exactly what I do. Instead of having to take my brother to shows with me, I would just morph into a man when somebody hit on me and start beating their ass.
Right. You know, because as a woman, I wish I could take my titties off like Velcro and leave them at home. But turning into a man for these safety purposes, that's a really good alternative. I would take that also.
I would also like to turn into a man so I could write my name in the snow. I want to put that out there too.
Come on, man. The thing about these people is they do a lot of questionable shit that would be considered trash if they didn't have money. Like Stella fucking drinking out of a brown paper bag everywhere she goes, including a funeral where she's her mom's funeral, I think, where she's sitting on top of a grave drinking a 40 out of a fucking paper bag.
I kind of like that image though. I'm sorry, especially because she's like the consummate flapper. Like she's the flapper girl, and she's like just sitting there like.
Yeah, she can do whatever she wants to do. I'm just saying, if she didn't have money attached to it, though.
No, that's true. Yeah,
it'd be a big problem. It would be a big problem. They would talk shit about her. They would drag her.
Well, I mean, that's really how it is. If you're rich, you're eccentric, and if you're poor, you need to go on a grippy sock vacation.
I don't have anything else to say about the incest. I can't do it.
In between all of these chapters is like the setup for Rowan to get on to go do the plane fucking that we're going to have in chapter 21 here. I read the first few lines of that chapter as we were sitting setting up, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be fun. I remember this. But I don't know, like Rowan's like chapters just put in here, they're just like you're interrupting 40-page motherfucking chapters that shouldn't exist. 40 to 60-page chapters. You need to moderate that a bit, okay, first of all. Second of all, like Rowan's story is only worth like 4 pages, okay? And third of all, you're talking about her like leaving everything fucking behind. And she's not really having an emotional reaction to it except for like that she's acknowledging it. It seems like there's not really an emotional reaction to it.
Yeah, they didn't even have to cut. Honestly, they didn't even have to cut the file. They could just give us the fucking file so we can get through it already.
Yeah. Maybe like put the file as like a prequel or something. So like if we want to like you could write it. Do we have to really info dump? Like I just feel like I've been told not to info dump so many times, and that's exactly what this file is an info dump.
It is. And I feel like it really should be a prequel. Like I would much rather read the shit as the story that's happening. No, I don't know. I don't want to sit through lengthy, smutty incest scenes, but and then I would have the power to skip those things and just get back to the story at hand. But this is not a story. These are files.
Chapter 19. Can we talk about how do you not have Julian's blood type? He fathered half of that family. The Talamasca really dropped the ball on that one.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about all this blood type snooping. The private investigators. I thought it was funny that they knew all along that the Talamasca was watching. I do think that's funny because of course they do. slasher be creeping, you know. Some of these bitches
Right,
can
yeah.
sure, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you're not stealthy, bro. Like, okay, but then when they meld the two, with Stuart Townsend, which, by the
Mm-hmm.
way, I think is hilarious that his name is Stuart Townsend. I think it's hilarious that that's his name because that's the guy who played Lestat in Queen of the Damned. I think it's so fucking funny.
I
His
didn't
name's
even
Stuart
realize
Townsend.
that. Oh
As
my
soon as I saw it, I
God.
was like, well, that's interesting. And then the chapter was the disappearance of Stuart Townsend. I said, what the fuck is happening right now? I bet Anne got a little key when they casted him.
Right, yeah. I didn't even realize. I was like, the name sounds familiar, but why does it sound familiar? Yeah.
Rockstar Lestat. That's why. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Rip. Rest in peace, King. Because that story is wild. Stuart
Yeah.
Townsend is wild. But that's what I'm
Before we
saying.
go
Like,
to Stuart, though, can we talk about Mary Beth's death really quick? Because I just want to talk about the fact that she had to comfort her fucking idiot husband. She's dying of cancer in massive amounts of pain, and he keeps coming over like, "Are you dead yet? Oh my God, are you dead?" I would punch him in the face and then rip his dick off.
I mean,
No.
most of them don't deserve PPs. So, like, I don't know, but I guess that's why she was like, well, this is what I get for not marrying my cousin.
She was so patient with him too. Like that's the thing about Mary Beth is like she's almost like that old-fashioned heroine that's like all about her family and all this shit. And she didn't marry her cousin out
Yeah.
of all the rest of them. She didn't like legitimately marry her cousin,
Yeah,
even
she
if
could
she
have.
did have a child with Julian.
I don't know if you're gonna do it and everybody knows you're doing it, you might as well marry him. I'm just saying, like, you might as well just do it. You might as well. But at least I mean, she did love her husband, you know.
Yeah. And to be fair to him, like the reason he was out of it is like he's like I can't live without her, and so he went on a bender to end all benders and fucking killed himself with the fucking alcohol.
Hey, what a way to go! That's a better love story than The Notebook.
It's a better love story than Twilight.
Actually, we're not talking about that. This keeps coming up in my life, and I
Although there is imprinting upon children in this, so
I'm tired. I'm tired. So tired. I'm exhausted.
the other thing
I'm
about
exhausted.
Stella though being a hoe is like they can't like pin down exactly which male family member fathered her child.
And she's like, "Oh well, life will go on. Que sera, sera. I'm having a baby."
I love that. I love that about Stella.
Because
It's
I mean,
like,
what does
well,
it really matter? What does it really matter? There's a legacy. That's all that matters.
yep,
You know,
she's banging her brother. She's banging uh Portland's son.
who's just a baby.
Yep, and I'm pretty sure she was banging Cortland at one point.
I'm certain because why not? I'm certain. It's like they didn't know how to have relationships with one another without fucking each other.
Right. It's so weird.
It's so bizarre. Like, it's so bizarre.
But I think that this is the thing is like just knowing what I know about Mona Mayfair and some of that stuff that's coming up. I think that there is a sexuality ascribed to the women in this family by Anne that is
Yeah.
it's icky, it's unforgiving, it's like they seduce everyone, even their relatives.
Okay, but like
They're so irresistible.
all I know of Mona is what I read in Blackwood Farm, and I read that book many, many, many years ago. Doesn't
Hmm.
she have a condition to where that's bad for her?
I don't know, I don't remember, but
Because in my young mind, I'm like, if that's bad for you, why are you doing it? Why are you sleeping with my fictional boyfriend if it's not good for your health? Back up, Mona.
my fictional boyfriend.
I can't wait to read that book again. I really, really can't. I really can't.
I don't like how she writes young people. I don't like how everything's incest, but I mean, then I think maybe the book's not for me, but I actually like quite like parts of the book, and I do like the gothic story building that she uses in it,
Yeah.
and I love Lasher. Like, Lasher is a fucking barrel of monkeys.
And I just don't know him yet.
Yeah, you'll get to know him. I think that helps everything. Maybe it's because I think Lasher's so funny.
I mean, that's probably because you got all the way through it so that you're easily able to like pick up the parts that are like, well, I don't have that yet. I only have the first half of the goddamn book. And I can say, like, after getting into the Stuart Townsend chapter,
Mm-hmm.
there were elements in there that I really like, and I feel like that brought the gothic storytelling for
Mm-hmm.
me, that got me back into it, because otherwise it's just incest.
Yeah. And the
So
Stuart Antoinette thing.
I liked when we got here. It fucked me up. It sent me for a wild ride. Okay,
Yeah.
like
Again, we're looking at proof that the writers of Interview with the Vampire read more than the writers of The Witching
yeah,
Hour.
yeah. I do think that it's highly sus. Um, considering what we know about Peter, okay, and how hard people warn him, like, because they're supposed to be only observing, okay,
Right?
and
Yeah.
and how hard people warn him not to go after Charlotte, okay. They don't have enough information. All they have are these stories. That is still the case with Stuart, okay. And for them to be like, oh, I knew we shouldn't have sent him, I knew we shouldn't have let him go, and yet you did it anyway to satisfy like your curiosity, that's really fucked up of you.
Yeah.
And like, I knew he wasn't the right person to go. Stuart is a delicate flower of a person,
Yeah.
okay. Fuck with Stuart. I just said I don't like anybody, and that's a lie. I like Stuart, but Stuart is so short-lived. He's such a blip
Yeah.
here. And for them to give him like, all right, we sent Stuart in, I'm gonna tell you about Stuart, then I'm gonna take him away from you. Okay, that's fucked up. So he like got sick and had a fever, and I said he had a fever and came out trans, but that's not the case. He came
Mm-hmm.
out as Antoinette, and it like upset his mom because he's like looking in the mirror, or she's looking in the mirror, and like, I'm not a man, I am Antoinette, this woman. And they like referred to her as the pale-faced feminine creature who lived in the attic. It unsettled me, and it made me remember reading The Great God Pan, because they're
Mm-hmm.
talking about it like, what is this, and is this some type of possession? And like, literally I have chills in my belly, because there was a lot of that in the different stories in The Great God Pan, and that book is weird scary,
Yeah.
right? And then he fell down the stairs and when he came out of his coma,
Yeah.
Antoinette was gone.
Yeah.
And but he lost a lot, like he was still 10
He
years
lost
old
a
on it.
yeah. And see, that terrified me, and I'm glad she didn't take that opportunity. I thought it was going to be another kid fucking opportunity because look, it's a child in an adult's body, and then that would be okay. And I thought that we were going to do that, and I was cringing, bodily cringing as I read it. And I was glad when she didn't take that opportunity because I
Yeah.
felt like that was something that she was going to do.
Which, it would just wouldn't be surprising. It would be
Nope.
very on brand with what we've gotten so far. So Stuart has a completely different like outlook on life, just completely different than most people. And so like the Talamasca, of course, like collecting people like Pokemon, but instead of like nurturing, knowing that he's like 10 years behind everybody else and he has all this
Mhm.
growing, all this catching up to do, instead of nurturing him to do something, interesting and wholesome, just because he comes to you and he's like, I gotta know. And I feel bad for calling him a stupid bitch before I read the rest of it. I didn't know. And it was like talking about how he fell in love with her from her pictures. But that makes sense because he still has this like childlike sense of wonder. And this bitch beguiles everybody she meets. It makes sense.
Mhm.
Shield him, protect him.
Right.
Don't let him go alone and then just to never see him again. And who knows who killed Stuart, but his body is in the house.
Yeah. At first I was like it's Lasher that did it, but
It was
they
Lionel, wasn't
I think it was Lionel. Yeah, because
it?
when the Lane Tree or whatever goes in to investigate, He says that he gets the feeling that it wasn't Lasher because he encounters Lasher and he doesn't. He's actually like got psychic abilities, which makes me really think it's Lionel, because obviously Lionel's like lashing out because he kills Stella in that scene with the
She just
investigator
saw
there.
Bella in her head in a party full
A
of
party,
people.
yeah, of
Baby,
cousins, of Mayfair cousins, yeah.
wild. It was the wildest shit. But I mean, like, that's what happens when you have babies with your cousins. Like, sometimes not everything
Your
is right out
brother, yeah.
here. Your brother cousin.
Your brother cousins, yeah. Also, like, who knows what exactly, like, I don't remember anything about Lionel. He could have been jealous about, like, the legacy, jealous about Lasher, jealous about, over
Everything.
her not settling down with him, which is yuck.
That's your sister, fool.
Yep, that's your sister. Move on, bro.
She's too busy, like, seducing her young baby cousin.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's busy. That's fucked up, man. It's really fucked up. It's really fucked up. What a place to end our little segment with
Oh,
elegant
I got one more thing.
period.
I got one more fucking thing. In the end, when he's like, he sees the ghost of Stuart, he's like, I'm gonna get reckoning for Stuart. I'm gonna get reckoning for Peter. It's like, no, leave Peter in the fucking grave. Lasher put Peter rightfully in his grave. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Lasher
Mm-hmm.
did you a service. Okay, you
For
were,
Stuart, okay.
yeah.
For Peter,
Oh,
like,
the other thing is I actually feel like Langtree doesn't suspect Lionel. He suspects Carlotta.
I mean,
That's the vibe I got from Langtree. So I don't remember if that's ever solved. I do think that they find the bones at one point, if I remember correctly, but I don't know if they ever figure out who killed him.
Carlotta's a beast. The fact that she tries so hard to like steal custody of someone else's child, there's
Yeah,
so much bad parenting going on. Why this one? Why just
right,
this one?
right. I think part of Carlotta's shit is like she also has like severe older sister syndrome. She feels like she has to take control of everything. And I think that because Carlotta is so legally minded, I think that's where she was going with it. But I mean, she ends up opening a bat with the fucking the Tweedledee and Tweedledum and Tweedledum out there that are Julian's
Right.
descendants.
And I'm just like, my thing is, if you're bored, get a hobby because everything was running fine before that.
Yeah.
Why start a war with? Just let them do it. Do your thing. She didn't even want to like. She didn't want to work with the cousin. She wanted to work in her own law firm.
Mm-hmm.
But she also didn't want to be in a courtroom. She just wanted to like run behind the scenes. So like, why are you not doing that? Why
Yeah.
are you inserting yourself? Just keep doing what you do. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, it's like she wanted to be rid of the family, but she didn't, which is strange.
Weird.
Yeah, it's like really like I get that your family's embarrassing. Like I would be embarrassed if I came from that mess, but like, even if
Also,
she
she
was
lived
to
in
give
the
up,
house.
huh?
Like she didn't want to live in the house, but she lived house adjacent. Like get
Yeah,
your own place if it
right.
really means to
Like
you.
and like Carlotta made her own money. Like she didn't need the family money.
Right.
She was a savvy business person, so she really didn't need the family money. So she already had all the advantages of coming up in that family and getting schooling and all that other shit. Like if she really wanted to cut ties, she could have.
She could have disappeared into the night. Like
Mm-hmm.
she really I mean they still would have found her because what's his face's wife, the
Mm.
cousin wife, like they got divorced or whatever, but she was like,
Yeah.
if my husband wanted to find me, if he wanted to be here, like if I wanted to see him, he would just show up in my room at night. Like sometimes he's there when I don't
Yeah.
they're creeps. They're fucking creeps.
It was a slog of fuckery. That's all that
Slug
was.
is the slog is right. Like some of this
Yep.
shit was really too long. I'm okay with all of it being rage inducing because it's reread books for entertainment, but like do not chuck me into crazy shit and then so much boring Not a crazy shit sandwich. No, thank you.
I'm ready to get on to some of the Lasher fuckery. Like, that's what I
No,
want.
I want to know him. I want to know who Lasher is.
I'm glad we've come to this point. I knew you would get there because in the beginning you were like, fuck Lasher.
Well, I mean, they can't just. She did that shit on purpose. You can't just start me with, like, I'm a child and this mysterious ghost man who might be Satan is, like, throwing kids around the playground and shit. Like, you can't start me like that. I really thought it was Satan. We're only halfway through, folks.
Only halfway through.
The rest of the books are short. And so I think it'll be easier once we get past the fucking files.
The files are interesting. I just wish they were, I don't know. I don't know if it was the most effective way to put that information in there.
Because no, they could have made the witching hour just the Mayfair witch files and presented it to me in a story of song and incest dance, and then make the rest of the book.
I do appreciate that we don't have to have scenes of incest. Like,
yeah,
I would not like that. Oh God. Yeah, there's more. I don't remember like what scenes we have. I think mostly like the sex scenes are Rowan and Michael, which are fucking gag inducing, but at least they're not related. Yeah.
I'm gonna because I don't care. I don't care.
I do remember skimming those and skipping them as much as possible when I read it the first time.
I'll read vampire sex scenes forever. I might even go back and reread them, but I'm not gonna read Rowan and
Michael. No.
Not doing it.
They're boring.
So fucking boring. And then they're all emotional and sappy after. And I'm like, you've known each other for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and they're not emotional or sappy about anything else in their life. Like,
well, they don't care about anything.
They're just like perfect boomers.
Yeah, and Rowan's young. That's weird.
Well, I mean, at this she's young, but this time period, like the time period they set them in, is boomers. So they are the perfect boomers. It is so fucking long, and we're doing these chapters. Like some of the chapters are like 60 pages long, and some of them are like 2 pages long, and it's stupid. Just get some fucking limits on your shit, dude. Like, break them up. Make a chapter should be like a single scene, or like it doesn't even have to be a single scene, but like maybe 3 scenes maximum. You don't have to do that to me, bro.
Tortures. And if you have ADHD and you try to read this book, it's gonna hurt.
Thank you for listening to the Annegirls Podcast. You can find us on the internet at annegirls.ghostinthemagazine.site.